Hello, Saints. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the attributes of God. These attributes are things that we study to learn about who God is and how He acts. Too often these things we look at seem to belong only in a classroom or a textbook, talked about among scholars, but have no place among the regulars, so to speak. But it does. Because when Paul talks about the gospel being the power of God, and understanding God's attributes, we understand the power, and how it is because of that power, where that power comes from, and why the gospel can be depended upon. That at times when the gospel doesn't appear to be working, it will accomplish its purpose. And we can know that because we have an understanding of God through the attributes of God. We know God is sovereign. That's one attribute. We also know He's love. It's not just an attribute. The Bible says He is love. It's not just a quality. It's who He is. And it's through this sovereign view and love of God that these two focal points that everything else revolves around. And in this here we have a picture of several things about God. One is His immutability. Second is His impassibility. And third is His impeccability. It is the immutable, impassible, impeccable God that gives you and I assurance of what He is about and what He is doing to restore all things. God is immutable and that He's immovable. It's not about God being stoic and unaffected by us, but that He is a God who is consistent and doesn't change. He doesn't do something one day and then do something different another. He is the immutable God. He is the impassible God, who while He doesn't experience emotions of fear and pain and suffering and love and everything the way we do, it's not, in other words, it's not dependent upon what others think or how they react to Him. This plays back to something called the aseity of God. And that has to do with God as eternal and within Himself. He doesn't need the outside things to buffer up His ego or to make Him feel better. In fact, all that He had created is an extension from Him, not something that's there outside of Him to support Him, but He supports it, the creation. And in God's impassibility, He is able to show His independence of any other being. And by being that, He can't be convinced to go another way by another power, such as by the serpent, by Satan. This is something we can depend upon. In His humanity, when Jesus came into the world as a human being, He had passibility. He shared in the human experience. But as the God, as the divine, He's impassible. That is assurance for us. And He's impeccable. Impeccable is without fault, without defect. You know, we can say someone's home is so clean, it was impeccably clean. You could not find a piece of dust anywhere. Someone whose belief is so true and so right that their belief is impeccable, without fault. God is impeccable. Without fault. He's all truth, and we can depend on that. So Paul can say, I'm not ashamed of the gospel, and that it is the power of God. Why? Because He's the immutable, impassible, impeccable God. Blessings.